Hello, everyone, and welcome. I know we've just opened up the room, so you're jumping on. Good to have you here today. If you don't mind, we'd love to know where you're dialing in from, where you're joining us from. So please feel free to drop in chat what part of the country or the world that you might be calling in from. And if you have any senior pets or other pets in your household, go ahead and drop their name and something special about them in chat. We love to hear about your beloved fur babies. Welcome, Cynthia from Marietta, Georgia. Glad that you're here today.
Marietta, Georgia has some great places to eat.
Is that right? So
Yep,
you could,
Marietta family restaurants. Cynthia, I'm sure you've probably hit some of those.
nice. Los Angeles, California. I bet they have some fine restaurants as well. Hi, Jean from Toms River, New Jersey. I love it. We're covering all parts of the United States so far. Greenville, South Carolina. Welcome, Lauren. And Robbie from Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Fantastic. I'm in the Tampa Bay, Florida area, and Krista's outside of Denver, Colorado. I think we've got the nation pretty much covered.
I was gonna say we're coast to coast, top to
Coast.
bottom.
That's right. That's right. Everyone's represented. And Dean's got Charlie and his stepbrother. God doggy, Charlie and his
Oh,
stepbrother,
nice.
Charlie. Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I know we'll have other folks jumping on here again. Glad to have you here, but we will go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you are on the West Coast, depending where you're calling in from. I'm Kelly Chicos. I'm a board member for the Gray Muzzle Organization, and we're so delighted to have you join us for today's webinar on disaster preparedness for senior pets. And before I turn the floor over to today's incredible presenter, I want to take a quick moment to thank all of you for making 2024 another record-setting year for the Gray Muzzle Organization. In case you haven't heard, we just awarded $1,100,000 to 100 very deserving animal welfare organizations across the
Awesome.
country, and also even one in Nepal. And I just want to say a very, very heartfelt thank you, because this is only possible to each of you. Everyone on the call now, everyone who'll be listening and watching this on YouTube later, because of your support of the Gray Muzzle. Whether you share social media posts, or you attend these webinars, or you donate $1 or $100, or you tell friends about Gray Muzzle, anything that you are doing is helping us to continue saving and improving the lives of thousands and thousands of our senior friends. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so very grateful. All right, well, now the moment you have all been waiting for. Today, we have the incredibly talented, knowledgeable, experienced, and credentialed. Yes, you are, Krista. I heard that. Oh, I don't know about, but you absolutely are. Krista Kurvers is here to discuss ways to alleviate the fear and anxiety that some dogs experience, especially during weather-related events, and how disaster preparation changes as our furry friends age. Now, Krista is an instructor with Code 3 Associates who are dedicated to aiding animals in times of crisis. And with over a decade of experience, she has trained animal welfare professionals, law enforcement officers, and first responders. Krista actively participates in emergency response efforts involving natural and man-made disasters, including fires, floods, mudslides, and tornadoes. And as a certified professional dog trainer and behaviorist since 1996, Krista owns Encompass Canines LLC, offering customized dog training and other services to foster a fun and rewarding human-dog relationship. I love that. She is also certified pet CPR and a first aid instructor, equipping people with essential skills for pet emergencies. Oh my gosh, it is an absolute honor to have you here today, Krista. So everyone joining, please give a warm virtual welcome to Krista Kurvers.
You guys are awesome. It makes it sound kind of crazy, but the whole key word in that whole thing and everything I've done and you guys might think this is nuts, is fun, because it's all about fun. And the more you have fun and the more you have a smile on your face when you do things, the better off it's going to be for your critters. And that's kind of what we're looking for, right? That's kind of all the fun stuff. So yeah, as Kelly said, I've kind of had my hat in a few things. Um, Way back when, law enforcement was my thing. But as a kid, it was all about being a veterinarian. Somehow physics and chemistry kind of ended that for me. So we went to law enforcement. Did a stint as a patrol officer and a canine handler. That was up in South Dakota. Then I went to Vegas and became an animal control officer. Life kind of took me to Vegas. I was fortunate enough to be able to help my parents move my grandmother to Vegas and got to spend the last 3 years of her life with her and got to know her. So that was kind of cool. That's what brought me to Vegas. Then I met Code 3 in Vegas. Best thing my boss ever did was bring them to Vegas to train, and got so involved with all their training that I became part of them. On the bottom, that's our big animal rescue truck. That's Bart down on the bottom with his new wrap. That's not new anymore. It's about a year old now. And just a couple other things, a couple teaching classes, a couple things that we got to do. We were involved with Stewart Haas Racing and Tony Stewart before he retired. That was a blast. The middle picture with the horses, that's me and one of our responders in the crazy floods of 2013 here in Colorado. And I have the map of the US up there because thanks to Code 3 and everything that's happened, I have either lived in, taught, or eaten in every one of the 50 states. How cool is that, right? Anyway,
Wow, that is very cool.
yeah, that's crazy, right? So as if that's not enough teaching, as Kelly mentioned, I did start Encompass Canines, and it's a lot of fun. Um, it's all about fun. I'm kind of not your normal dog trainer where I don't say, okay, here's a package and you do 6 lessons and you have to do it this way. It's all about what you want with your dog. And you tell me how what we want to do and how we want to do it. And then I've incorporated the pet CPR and first aid into that as well, which thoroughly enjoyed Denise Fleck's Sunny Dog Inc. Curriculum, and that was a blast. But anyway, that's what I do. So been doing it for years, love it, and I'm one of probably more than I people realize. I'm one that truly love what I do and do what I love. So there's not a day that I work, and that's a blessing for sure. All right, let's break into this. So, are you guys ready for a disaster? What is a disaster? And yeah, I'm interactive. You guys are gonna have to either chat or something.
All
Um,
right.
what is a disaster?
I'll keep
And
an
yeah, there's
eyeball on the chat.
yeah, I've got chat. I don't have Q&A
Okay.
up, but I've got chat up.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm gonna pull all kinds of stuff from you guys. Um,
I'm not sure that the attendees can unmute themselves via this type of
yeah,
platform,
that's
but
okay.
okay.
As long as they can throw chat, and of course they can. But what is a disaster for you guys?
I think of it something that oh gosh, now I'm questioning it already, but I'm thinking of something that happens suddenly that stops life as we know it. I don't
Yeah,
know. Oh, I don't
pretty
know.
much, right? I mean,
D adds,
and of course on the screen, you've got fires and floods and tornadoes. There we go. Robbie's got in loss of people, loss of supply chain. There's a good one, loss of supply chain, because it doesn't have to necessarily be a humongous thing. What if a train derails over an interstate? You know, or maybe just a simple, well, not simple, maybe just a couple car accident with a semi trailer, right? So these are the big things that are on your screen, even the cow in the mud. But what about the horse in the pool, right? I don't have that picture up here. I couldn't find it. But it's not always the big stuff. And what about disasters for you? You walk out the door and I don't know, didn't see the dog that's loose in the street, and you're going to your car and the dog comes around and grabs your dog, and all of a sudden you have a vet visit. Is that a disaster? for you in the moment, right? It's not what we think of with disaster preparedness, but does that change everything? And yeah, I think it does, right? So here's the thing. You guys might be ready for the big disasters. Are you ready for the little ones? Are you ready for all of them? And how do we get ready for disaster, right? So I'm sure you guys probably have a little bit of disaster preparedness in your head, right? Evacuation plans. Where are you going? Depending on where you live. Kelly in Florida, you got hurricanes up the yazoo, so you're good. I caught some states where you guys are in tornado belts, right? LA earthquakes, right? I happened to be in LA. I can't remember who was in LA. I think that was Dean. And during the Northridge earthquake that rocked CSUN, it's probably not called CSUN anymore. Go figure. That was decades ago. So you have plans, but do you practice your plans? Do you have your first aid kits? Where are they? What's in them? And that's all stuff that, yes, it's important, but I don't want to go that route because you've probably had that already. And I don't want, this is something new, this is something fresh. So where is that? How much time have you put into disaster preparedness for your household? Have you practiced? Does every member of your family know the drill? And yeah, you're thinking, okay, people, humans, right? Member of family. But aren't your for kids members of your family? And here's my big but, right? We do it all in our heads and we make sure our kids and loved ones and all those members have it down and they can read the map or whatever drill you have. But have you taught the dog? Have you given them the opportunity to figure out what you're doing when you pack the go bag? Right? I'm trusting you guys all have critters, right? What does your fur kid do in a thunderstorm? Do you know before the thunderstorm's coming that the thunderstorm is coming just because of the way the dog reacts? Are you that in tune to your puppy? Or puppy is all, right, and not just puppy, the fur kids. My mom and dad had a German Shepherd, Gabba Benton. Yeah, still CSUN. Thank you, Dean. Gabba Benton can't help. Uh, but they had a Shepherd that he didn't care about thunderstorms. But oh my gosh, when the wind howled, oh, he was a big wuss. He was a 90-pound Shepherd, and he was a wuss when the wind howled. Um, Fireworks, backfires, sirens, just noises, right? Weather changes, heat, it doesn't matter what it is, that barometric pressure affects them. Um, oh yeah, if you had thunderstorms, thunder and lightning can scare them for sure. What about just simple change? For the dog, especially a senior dog, can change in your household be stressful? And yeah,
Absolutely.
what's that look like? Well, did you rearrange the furniture in the living room? Now, maybe not just rearranging it because the smells are still there, but how about you got totally a new whole get up, right? Brand new furniture. You brought it in. What's that furniture smell like? Nothing to us, but to your senior fur kid, that's a big deal. And did you take the time to let them know it was happening? Like, Krista, you're nuts. Well, yeah, I am nuts. You guys, the more you see me, I am. But dogs think that way. Now, I'm not trying to put human thoughts into the dog's brains, but you have somebody move all their furniture out. And what's the dog think? Oh my God, they're stealing our stuff. Dad, come on, Mom, what's going on? And then all this new stuff comes in, and they're like, that doesn't belong here because it's not yours. But if you take the time to let them know, they almost have. Um,
Krista, you'd mentioned earlier, I didn't tell the group that you told me offline that it was okay to interrupt you and jump in. And
oh yeah,
you have definitely got a lot of reactions from our participants, which is what you wanted. You said you
yep,
want this to be participative, and you're getting that for sure. And so Jean had mentioned, we're very sorry that they lost their dad, your husband. So sorry about that. And then they had a big move. So moving dogs that are 12 and a half and almost and 9 and almost 10, very difficult moving. Maybe that's what
Right.
you're talking
And
about too, the change.
yeah, Delaware to New Jersey, that's quite a little track. And not only that, but what kind of abode to what kind of abode, right? Apartment to house, house to apartment, country to city, city to country. All that changes. So yeah, Jane, sorry for that. Um, it's hard, and not only for you, but also for your fur kids. But at least you recognize that. So that's fabulous that we can help them through it. And here's the really gravy, they help us through it. And that's a good deal too, right? So change. What about chaos? Do you guys ever have a chaotic day in your household? Some of you might have, kids like human kids, right? Little kids, little humans, um, running off to soccer, running off to softball, running off to piano, running off to whatever. Zoom, 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 zoom. How does that affect any dog, but especially a senior dog, right? That takes a toll as well. Um, and then what about your emotions? How close are you to your fur kids? Can your emotions change their behavior? And yeah, I mean that's kind of a no-brainer. None of this is totally rocket science, but it's things that sometimes we don't think about. We don't think about our bad day affecting our dog, and it could. Um, yeah, New Year's Eve and July 4th, they aren't my favorite holidays. I've worked too many Fourth of July's as animal control, and I wish out fireworks were outlawed, but that's neither here nor there.
Dean
Um,
asked that earlier too. To
yeah,
Krista asked about, what do we do when a pet freaks out over fireworks?
we'll
Yeah,
we'll
maybe that's
we'll get
coming.
to that,
Okay,
and if I don't specifically answer it, circle back around on me, and we'll get to it. But I think I'll give you some ideas here shortly,
you got it.
because there's the next one, right? What do you do to help them through it? What do you do to make things less scary? Um, and in essence, you want the things that are scary to become an accepted part of their everyday life. Sometimes that's hard to do, but not always. The other trick is right when you think you got it, it changes because our animals age, right? So as that happens, you're right. What on earth can we do? Well, in a nutshell, right? The easy answer is we acclimate and we counter condition. Now, for those of you that are dog trainers or into training, counter conditioning is simply getting applying in very simple terms, applying a positive result to a negative thing, right? I don't like I don't like it when the alarm goes off because I have to get up. Well, so maybe you have a good pancake breakfast and that makes you want to get up. I don't know what that's a silly analogy, but there we go. Um, the trick with that is always safe and always positive, right? Gone are the days where we force animals, or should gone should be the days where we force animals to do our bidding, right? Um, so take advantage of things. Weather changes. Do you know when the weather's going to change? You see your dog start to get a little anxious. Take advantage of that. Cuddle up with them, make it okay. Go for a walk, do whatever it needs to do to make them, oh, bad weather's coming in my bones. I can feel it. Mom, 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 I'm Velcro to you. Oh, it's not so bad. It's okay. And bond with them, right? Um, bonding. Most of the time, that's just chilling with your dog, right? Now going swimming with your dog, that can work, right? Um, yeah, so many dogs don't like it. My dad's dog, she's at least 11, probably 12 by now. Um, this it's not even there yet. The storm's not even there. But in Colorado, evenings we get a thunderstorm every afternoon, almost, right? And during this season. in Scotches, she's just like, ah, and she has to bury into things. So she goes and she buries into my closet and wrecks all my shoes. It's like, stop. But I told Dad, I said, Dad, before it happens, when you see her start to get nervous, call her to you and start stroking her neck. And she hasn't gone into the bathroom, into the closets to hide since he started doing that. Sometimes he forgets. My dad's 94. He's been living with me for nine or 5 years. So, and he's old school, so it's hard to get the old school out of him and get the new school in. And by new school, that's still around for decades, guys. We've been understanding that positivity gets us a lot further. So take advantage, bond, chill, take time to just relax with your dog. How often do you guys do that? That becomes more and more important the older the dog gets. Crazy, right? It should be less the older the dog gets, but it's not. It's actually the other way around. And yeah, Kelly, 100%. So many people have gone nope, you ignore the bad behavior. But here's the deal. This isn't bad behavior. This is a dog that is upset about something. Ooh, upset. There's a great word. What does that mean? Okay, how about uncomfortable with whatever's going on? That's a better way to put it. Because they're really not upset and not mad. They're not mean. They're just uncomfortable with what's going on. You don't want to punish that. So yeah, I think it is kinder and more supportive. I think it's the way to go. The other part is use those opportunities to make crazy things not scary, right? The one picture, that's one of my coworkers, just hanging out with their dog in the park. We were doing a photo shoot that day. And then the other picture, I did a lecture up in Telluride from one of the humane societies up there. And it was talking about emergencies when they're out hiking in the backwoods and stuff. And so that's an emergency rescue harness. It was the first time I put Capper in there, which was a little challenging because this is when she is a tripod. So she didn't have the leg to go on the other side. And technically, I don't have it up tight enough. I need to raise it a little more, but it was just a brief example. So what's that got to do with this? You're wondering. Acclimate your kids. What do you need? What do you have? Elder dogs, sometimes the back ends go. How many times have you put a towel or something under your dog's back end and hips to support it? And are they okay with that? Right? Get them acclimated to it. A friend of mine calls them reindeer games. Play reindeer games with your animals, right? Do the weird, do the unexpected. She would make horses wear trash can lids as, that little Siamese cat. I can't even think of it. It's on a Disney movie. I don't even remember. But putting flippers on hooves and same thing with the dogs, not necessarily dressing up with Halloween costumes, but just crazy things, right? My kids climb ladders, crawl, they do all kinds of weird stuff. As you can see, Capri also she gets harnessed all the time. You'll see later she's my demo dog for capture and handling, so she gets a lot of weird stuff going on. Have fun. You're like, well, that doesn't look like fun. Ask her. I put that harness down. She goes right into it. She knows what's coming. She likes it, right? A little ahead of the game. We'll talk about muzzles shortly, but I had a German Shepherd who went trail riding with me. But for her to go trail riding, I had to put a basket muzzle on her. When she saw me pick up that basket muzzle, she got all excited because she knew that meant trail ride. The reason she had to wear a basket muzzle is because she's a German Shepherd. I'm on a horse. What do shepherds do? They herd. What do horses do? Act up sometimes. So when Bucket, my horse, would get a little feisty, Justin would come around and nip him. Well, I can't have that. So she'd have to wear a basket muzzle. But she loved it because that meant we went out for a ride. So acclimate for fun things, right? Make the scary, make the unusual fun, right? Crate and muzzle training. I don't know what you guys think about crate and muzzle training, but I'm a big proponent for crate training. Doesn't mean they have to live in it. That's not what it's for. It's not even for punishment. It's for a safe place to have the dog. And in a world of things going haywire, not all places allow you to have a dog unless they have a crate with them. So why not have them crate trained? Why not have it perfect? And I actually took that picture last night. I have a client's dog at the house right now, and he's like, "Why do I have to get in my crate? I need a photo." Oh, and he goes in and lays down. It's crazy, right? But you can see the doors open. Decades ago, when I had one of my demo dog shepherds, I don't think I have any pictures of Cagney here. Um, I'd be looking for her in the house, and where's Cagney? And she'd be sleeping in the crate, doors open. She hasn't slept in there with the door closed forever, and she's in there sleeping because it was similar to where I was, right? Um, that's not such a strange idea because people hear about crate training all the time. Good idea. Muzzle training. Have you ever thought about that? I also believe that all dogs should be muzzle trained. What's that mean? Simply means that if you put a muzzle on them, they're not going to freak out, that they understand that it's an okay thing to do. It's not scary. Doesn't mean something bad is going to happen. Doesn't mean they've been bad. It simply means I need to wear a muzzle for right now because something might go cuckoo, right? Do you guys ever watch any of the military deployments or practice sessions with their dogs jumping out of helicopters? Right? It's cool. Or seen photos of the dogs jumping out of the helicopters or deploying out of the amphibious stuff. What are the dogs wearing? Muzzles. Why? Just so nothing happens that shouldn't. Right? A friend of mine has a big, beautiful, gorgeous Doberman Pinscher. Um, with a military crop job, but that's his choice, not mine. But beautiful Doberman, and then black and tan, and then he's got a black German Shepherd, and she's almost bigger than the Doberman, and then he's got a little black and tan Dachshund. But all of them, as they travel, right? He has taught them that if he turns the engine off, they all come forward to get a muzzle put on their head. Because how many times have you heard something happens on the side of the road and a dog escapes? You know, whether it's a traffic stop or accidents, not necessarily applicable, depending on whether or not the driver is out of commission. But how safe is it for people? You get pulled over, or you're part of a big, huge traffic jam or whatever, and your dogs know to come up and get a muzzle on them. How comforting is that for the law enforcement officer that sees the dogs? Takes the unknown possibility away, right? That's just one example. What about grooming or vets or as you see, this is actually a class in Tennessee where Capra's just putting up with me and wearing her muzzle. And you're like, well, Krista, that's not a muzzle. Well, actually, it's probably the best muzzle in the whole wide world. And what that is, that's actually, guys, that's a nigh tourniquet. And yeah, tourniquet, like old days where they put a tourniquet to draw your blood. Yeah, that's what that is. It's a nigh tourniquet, NYE. Best, best, best muzzle in the whole wide world because it fits every dog. They absolutely cannot open their mouth, and she doesn't care. It's absolutely fine, right? Best investment in the whole wide world. If you find yourself in a situation where you um, muzzle a lot of dogs, that would be animal control, groomers, vets, kennel people, etc. Not a bad idea. For your own personal dog, guys, emergency muzzles are just fine. So are basket muzzles. Basket muzzles are I like a little better than the kits or the different sizes you can buy at PetSmart and Pet Edge and Petco and online because the material they can actually open their mouths and get through it, whereas the basket muzzle they can't, right? And they can
Krista,
actually drink through the basket muzzle.
about those muzzles, Amanda has a question. She said that her senior dog is toothless. Should she still be muzzle trained since obviously she's not a bite risk?
How old is your senior dog and what kind of dog?
Is
It's not a silly
she a
question.
little Chihuahua? Yes, she's a
Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Um, You
intense.
know, my first thing is yes, still train them so that they are okay with something around their nose. But you're the Chihuahua, the smaller dogs, right? Not a big a deal. So yeah, I could give you a pass on that. That would work. Um, which is the other part of this is, guys, nothing's absolute, right? I mean, it just isn't. There are dogs that absolutely can't go in a crate. There are dogs that absolutely freak out if there's a muzzle or anything around their face. So nothing's absolute, and things you have to go through that. And yeah, toothlessness, it's there, but I've also seen a pretty nasty dog that's toothless that caused a lot of damage just gumming somebody because they're still bruising and they're still pinching. All right. But that was a nasty dog. So there's a difference. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Gums is kind of crazy, right? The whole point is you don't want someone to overreact because a mouth is open and coming at them, you know. And especially for senior dogs, how easy is it to startle a senior dog or to get a reaction of a snap from a senior dog than you do for other dogs, right? And that's the hard thing. Because especially with little dogs, I've seen it all the time. Kids, especially, will come up to a little dog and they think it's a puppy and it's happy. And it's a senior dog that's like, get away from me, my back hurts. Right. And they don't get it. So they get bit or they get reacted or they get scared. Um,
And our
so,
seniors might have hearing or sight
yeah.
vision issues too, which
Yep.
makes all that a little bit more dicey.
Yeah. So again, it's part of the caveat to all of this is knowing your dog and what makes it tick, right? If the crate is a problem, you can work through that if the trade-off is worth it. If the muzzle, if the toothless dog, is it really worth the muzzle? Well, it depends. What's the dog feel about it? The dog doesn't mind the muzzle like Capper because she's used to it so much. Sure, go for it. You can use different kinds. And it might be a talking point, right? Um, so yeah, all this is trade-off and individual. There's no blanket answer for this. These are just great ideas to help you through navigating issues, right? The absolute safest way to transport a dog is where? In a crate. What kind of crate? A crate that can handle it, not a fold down wire crate. Fold down wire crates are for houses, right? Um, so yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Dog siblings in the crate. A ladylike crate. I like a ladylike. Is it pink? That could be fun, right? I love it. Anyway, and then you can't squeak a toy while I'm teaching. Yeah, thank you. Speaking of kids, um, so go out and explore. Explore what? Maybe your I'm gonna have to take it away from you. Maybe your backyard. Maybe it's the garage. Maybe it's a field. Maybe it's just your neighborhood, right? And well, we walk our neighborhood all the time. Okay, but have you walked it from the dog's point of view at their level and their scent mail? Or have you walked it just okay and you talked to neighbors and stuff? Did the dog see all the different yards? Did the dog see the scary windy flappy thing or Halloween decorations or Christmas decorations or oh my God, they put a new gazebo up or anything like that? Let them see. How often do you spend time out and about at a standstill or a sit still and just let your dog hang and watch and look around? Especially for the senior dog. How valuable is that? I like teal with white paws. That's nice. Um, just letting them absorb their environment can be a great thing, especially for a senior dog, because it takes them longer to soak it all in, right? So go out, explore, do different situations, do it at different times. If you want them to be involved in arts in the park or parade or farmers market, and you want to go there, sometimes I wonder why people take dogs to certain events. And then sometimes I think I probably shouldn't have taken my dog to this certain event because I do it too. But did you let them know what was going on? We were in, where were we? We were in Daytona and with NASCAR. And we were at one of the concerts. There was a gentleman there with his service dog. And I train service dogs too. Don't beget them at all. And it was a legit service dog. The dog was doing his best to pay attention to his owner. But with concerts, it's loud, right? And there's alcohol. And I don't know. The guy, I think he was probably inebriated, but I don't know for sure. But what I do know is he wasn't paying attention to his dog. His dog was doing his best to do his job, but the music was too loud. And there was no cotton swabs or earplugs on the dog, right? So yeah, me being me, sir, your dog's uncomfortable and I handed him some cotton swabs. And to his credit, he was pissy with me, but at least he put them in. So, oh well, right? Pay attention. What does your dog do when there's a lot of people around? Right? Crossing a busy street. Does your dog sit? Does your dog look around? Does he get nervous? He, right? Do you ever put them in that position? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Depends on where you live, right? But let your dog see new things as much as you can. Why? Why do you want your dog to see new things and to absorb their environment? Same reason we do it.
Familiarize, right? Just feel familiar, get comfortable, get used
Yeah.
to things are different.
100%. Get comfortable, right? So those are the nutshells, right? Now let's get back to disaster preparedness specifically, right? Make your disaster plan routine and part of your dog's daily life. Whoa, I got to drill every day? No. But what is your disaster plan in regard to your dog? Is it a car ride? Well, probably if you're evacuating, you're probably going to get in a car. Does your dog like the car? If your dog likes the car, this is easy. You grab your go bag, you grab your first aid kits, you load up like you're going to go, and you load up the dog and you go for a ride. If your dog doesn't like car rides, that's a little harder, right? So now you have to work on getting the car ride enjoyable before you add the other elements. How many of you guys have dogs that don't like car rides? What's the easy answer to that? The easy answer is do it more, but that's not really easy, right? Um, if you have somebody that absolutely dog wise absolutely doesn't like car rides, totally really like put on the brakes, I don't want to go, then free work isn't a bad idea for you. And if you haven't heard of free work, um, you can Google it. It's really cool, but I really like it in regard to the car because what free work looks like for the car is you have the car in an enclosed area, garage. You open the car doors, not the garage doors, and you let the dog hang out. That's it. Let the dog hang out. Dogs, he can go in if he wants to or not. He can sniff around. Now make sure the garage is safe, right? Or wherever the car is parked is safe. And just let the dog be, right? And then maybe throw some treats in the back seat and let the dog go up and oh, it's cool in here, and come back out with his front feet. Process slow. Some dogs will obviously be quicker at it than others, but it's just free work. It's letting the dog get used to the back seat. And by the way, dogs shouldn't ride in the front seat. They should ride in the back seat. As the dog progresses, well, gosh, maybe he comes all the way in and then goes all the way through, right? Maybe he comes in and he sits and he's like, oh, this isn't so bad, but no door's closed yet. So it's a process if your dog is really, really, really scared of the car. Um, and yeah, 100-pound husky, that's a big husky mix. Wow. Does he still not like cars? Will he go in the car? No. That's a bummer, right? Um, how old is he now? Yeah, crazy. What do you do when you have to take him to the vet? And that could be you got no choice. You force him in the car. But that can, at 100 pounds, that can be a challenge, right? And by the way, free work, it's not age limited, right? So your 12 and a half husky, um, oh yeah. Well, and thank God we have mobile vets now because that is a true thing. Between the back leg and the don't like car rides, um, and the stress on him, maybe that's not worth it to try, but maybe you'll find in free work in an enclosed area just left to his own devices, he might walk in the car, uh, as long as it's not moving. Anyway, um, but with a mobile vet, again, you might not have to do that. So, just a thought. If you're interested in that, you can just Google free work. Where did I get free work? It's very, very, very common in the UK. And one of the dog trainers I was listening to a webinar does a lot of free work. And that's where I saw the car thing. So pretty cool. Um, yeah, I believe that ramps can be helpful. Ramps can also be scary. The narrower the ramp, the worse it is for the dog. Right. So if you have to have a ramp, you want a wide ramp. But that'll work. All right. So again, try to make things fun. If the car ride isn't the problem, he just gets crazy. How many of you guys, when you start packing for a trip, the dog starts to be like Velcro to you, right? Because they know. A friend of mine, one of the instructors I work with, when she starts packing for trips, her cats sit in the suitcases and won't move. It's like, we're going with you, Mom. No, no, you aren't. But they sit there on top of her clothes. And it's like, okay. So maybe it's just the act of packing. Well, how can you do that? Well, pack, right? Pack, put it away, bring it back out again, have some fun. In the middle of the pack, maybe go play ball or whatever your dog digs, right? It's a matter of simply making everything that is scary normal. Can it be that simple? Oh, it sounds simple, but again, this is time, guys. This is investing time in the relationship with your fur kid and making sure that fur kid is understanding why you do what you do, right? Why are we taking all the clothes out of the closet? Why are you packing my dog food? Right? The dog food lives there. How many of you guys have dogs that know where the treat cabinet is? They know where the food cabinet is, right? Why are you putting my food over here? Why are you putting them in little bags? Now, do they really think that specifically? No, but they do know it's different. And why is it different? And can that cause angst? Right? They know. They 100% know. Um, my dogs, they travel with me when I teach. Most of my classes for Code 3 are week-long classes. And sometimes I have two back-to-back, especially when I go down to Florida. We go down to Florida, and then on the way home, we pick up another one, so it's not so big a drive. Um, because it is. And on Thursday, the dogs know Thursday night, Mom packs because Friday we're done at noon and we head for home. They know. So on the few days where we don't head for home because we're in a different location and I don't pack on Thursday, both my dogs, they're like, what's wrong? You didn't pack. You're supposed to pack tonight. We're supposed to get in the car tomorrow. They so know. So you kind of have to let them know. And I do. I tell them, nope, we're in the condo tonight. We're not leaving until Saturday. You guys are good. Do they understand all those words? Not per se, but do they know what you're talking about? Yeah. Do dogs understand daytime, nighttime? No. But do they understand if you say, hey, we're going to the grocery store, we'll be back in a few hours? They get the gist. If you lie to them, never lie to the dog. If you say we're going to be back in a few hours and something happens, you don't come back till the next morning, guess what? They know because it was an overnight. It was a dark. And you said you'd be home before the dark, right? Talk to your dogs. How many of you guys talk to your animals? Yeah, all the time, all the time. Anyway, on to what else can we do? Back to putting not the scary into things. How many of you guys have a sound or have incorporated sound or something that to your dog means, yes, I get to go to dad because something good's going to happen? And for most people, that's our emergency recall because we want them and we want them right now. Also called rocket recall. There's all kinds of trainers that have different names to it, but basically sound, dog hears sound, dog comes straight to you because they know you have something cool for them. Right? That can be treats, that can be play, that can be whatever your dog digs. I have a client who treats, he doesn't care about toys, he doesn't care about, but oh my God, you put a stick in your hand and he will do whatever you ask. It's hilarious, but cute little dog. Doesn't matter if it's a whistle or a dog whistle or your whistle, right? Doesn't matter if it's a big horn, if it's a bell. Bells can carry, right? The problem with our whistles is sometimes our whistle with our own mouth goes away. Yeah. Your dogs like peanut butter. Peanut butter is yummy, high in calories, but yummy. Um, the whole point is to make it have a sound. I have a couple of examples, and I heard this a zoo. I think I'm trying to. It's a sanctuary, and they sounded a big old humongous horn. And when they sound the horn, that's feeding time. And all the critters, the rhinos, the hippo, all the critters come into their bunkers when they hear that sound. And I'm like, well, wow, that's kind of cool. The reason they did it is because they're in Tornado Alley. And when weather hits, they want the animals safe. So they hit the horn and they have conditioned the animals to when I hear that sound, I go in here and I get fed. So it helps, right? So I'm like, okay. So years ago, I put a bell on my off my deck, and as I went out to feed the horses, I rang the bell. It wasn't very long. I ring the bell, and they all come running because they know it's time to eat. Um, why is that good? Because what if it's not time to eat and I need them in a hurry? And you can do the same thing with your dogs, right? Make that sound sporadically throughout the deal or throughout the day, throughout the week, whatever, and then give the dog the payoff. That's the key. You got to give the dog the payoff. And it shouldn't always be the same payoff. It should just be something that's really, 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 really enjoyable for the dog. Whether that's their favorite treat, their favorite toy, their favorite playtime, a belly rub, a cuddle, swimming, whatever. But every time they respond to that sound, they get the cat's meow, so to speak. Right? Um, Once you've established the sound and the drill, spice it up, right? Don't make it boring. Oh, yep, here we go again. We're gonna do the deal. The vet I travel with, I think once a month, she has a sound, and all her cats come and they all get in their crates so that if she ever has to go, they they are familiar with the crates so that they can go. Because what do you guys know about cats? When crap happens, where do cats go? Gone. Hide, right? So she's incorporated the sound with the crate, and it's a drill. And she puts them all in crates, and she carries them to the car. And then she goes around the block, and then she comes back out, and then she goes, and the cats are fine. We can do that with our dogs. It's wonderful. So how do you spice it up? Well, How do you think your emotions are running when you have a disaster? I forgot to even look at time. Oh my goodness gracious. All right. How do you think your emotions are going in a disaster? You're probably going through the roof. So how do you mimic that? Right? Do like 20 jumping jacks and then come in the house and do your drill. Can you amp up your emotions and your breathing so that the dog goes, what's going on? Maybe, right? But the key, guys, is to make it fun. To make it fun and do what you do, right? You heard me say, make disaster plan a part of your daily routine. You do it all the time. Your daily life is disaster preparedness. Like, Krista, you're crazy. Well, not really. What's a disaster? We went through that. Perspective changes as you age. For us, for sure. If it's for us, why not for our dog as well, right? Things that they used to hear, they don't hear. Things they used to see, they don't see. Even their sniffer, which by the way is way better than ours, even the sniffer misses a little bit. Thank God it doesn't. It's the last to go, I think. I don't have any stats on that. But the eyes and the ears, okay, but the nose kind of hangs, right? It's good. Recognizing that those senses change, man, understanding that is the key to helping our dogs age because we can change with them, right? So yeah, that's my capper girl enjoying my great nieces and no, great one greats. Um, having a blast. And up on the top picture, perspective wise, right? She swears that's a toy in that mud hole. No, actually, it's a wrapped tail because we're doing a disaster drill with a horse caught in a mud bog. It's a mannequin horse, but she swears that's her toy. Perspective, right? It's not her toy. She was having a blast though. So daily life, let your dog absorb. I already talked about that. The world, right? How long does it take your dog to go from the couch to the door to go outside now versus 2 years ago versus 4 years ago, right? Um, Give them time to wake up. Encourage them not just with voice, because humans, we do a lot with our dogs with our voice. And truth be told, we should do more with our body because dogs read body language more than they read voice, right? So encourage them both with voice and body language. Incorporate your hand signals, right? For when those senses do go. Take the time to stroke, not pat, but stroke, right? Whatever the dog enjoys. And this can even go into how many of you guys have heard, I'm sure you have, snout to tail assessments, right? Doing massages from nose to tail. This can go right into that. Do what your dog enjoys, right? Check on it. See if they're reacting to things and kind of beat them to the punch, so to speak, right? Um, Incorporate your hand signals. Eventually, those hearing might go away. The eyes might go away. A friend of mine had a little, she looked like a cattle dog Shiba mix. Her DNA said she was poodle. She didn't look poodle. That's okay. But at some point in time, she went deaf. They were so thankful that they're avid photographers, and while doing photography wildlife, you want your dog to be quiet. So they did a lot of hand signals while they were out doing photography. They were very thankful for that because they could still communicate with Jinx while she went deaf because she already knew the hand signals. How wonderful is that, right? We don't think of that stuff. Um, uh, we need to. We need to anticipate how our dog is going to age. It's kind of seems counterintuitive that as the dog gets older, they need more communication and support from us instead of less. We think it should be less because they're older, but it's actually more. They need more reassurance from us. They need more communication from us because their world is actually shrinking because their senses are shrinking. Have we ever looked at it from that point of view? Positive communication. How does that look like? What does that look like? I'll show you in a second or tell you in a second. But if you have to evacuate, right, you've got your plans, you've got all that stuff, and now it happens and you got to go. Do you have things that you can take with you that can reassure your pet in the new location that they are still safe and okay? And Krista, what are you talking about? Well, there's a list. Favorite toy, bed, blanket. Why? Because their smells are familiar. Your worn clothing, right? How often you heard, well, my hunting dog got loose. Well, throw your jacket down and come back in the morning and the dog will be on the jacket. And that's true, right? They sense that. Training service dogs, especially for diabetic and some of that stuff. We want the shirt the kid sleeps in or the person sleeps in for the highs and the lows, and that's what we train for the sense on, right? Because it's odor. Candles. How does candles help? Well, do you use candles at home? Does it smell like home? If it's not a candle, is it a diffuser? Shampoo, not the dog, you. What do you use on your hair? What lotion do you use? What does it smell like? Things that the dog recognizes as safe. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope that makes sense because that's kind of huge. Thunder shirts or the like, right? If you don't want to do a thunder shirt, so I know a dog that doesn't like the thunder shirt, but his mom has an ace bandage and puts that on him and he's just fine. So it's just different, right? Different dogs. And then I hadn't thought about this. Food, yes. But what about if you have a dog that is incredibly finicky and has medicine and he has a certain type of food that's the only thing he'll take his meds with? Do you have that food? Different food than what he eats with. This is his med taking food. Ah, yeah. I know that thunder shirts help quite a bit of dogs, right? Which is awesome. And then what other things can you think of that you can take with you that will let the dog know he or she is safe? Smell, visual cues, maybe. Um, but most of it, I'll be honest, most of it is smell and then your touch. Okay. Smell and your touch. Right. Crazy, right? Um, so wrapping it all up, truly preparing a senior pet for disaster is day to day. There's enough changes and enough in the world that it's day to day and it's always changing, right? Do you know your pet's cues? Cues for what? Are they nervous? Are they uncomfortable? Are they happy? Are they tired? Are they weary? Right? Do you know your pet? How's your bond with your pet? How well do you communicate with your pet? On good days? Probably pretty good. What about the not so good days? What about the days when you're really frustrated? How do you communicate with your pet? And these are just food for thought, right? There's no right answer here. There's no wrong answer here. There's no judgment here. They're just thoughts to put in your head to help you bond with your pet and get more out of it, right? Do you spend any time or any effort on making sure your pet understands what you're asking, right? Or what's going on, or why you're doing it, or what you want them to do, right? Does your animal believe that they're safe with you? There's a good one. When they get scared, what does your animal do? Does he come to you? Does he look to you? Right? We want to encourage that trust, which is the last one. Do you work on keeping that trust that you've earned with them? Because I trust you guys all have done that just in the stories in chat. You guys have the trust from your critters, right? Work on keeping that trust by making it safe and communication. So if you haven't already made that connection, disaster preparedness with your senior pet is all about communication between you and them. It's truly that simple. Truly that simple. So I want to leave you with one thing that I didn't put in here. I was chatting with the veterinarian that I travel with and have taught with for a decade now, and she's in Virginia, and I ran this program past her. Just she's kind of my sounding board. And she goes, Krista, she goes, I'd like you to tell them this from a professional, from a veterinarian. And she goes, professional advice in a world of expensive vet care. Okay. And she says, tell the class or tell your webinar that they have the potential to make their dog's life a hell of a lot better by just acclimating and going out and doing things with their dog in the fashion that we just talked about. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you get exposed to other things, to groomers, to other info, to things that you don't normally see, and you prevent that expensive vet visit, which will make the dog's life, in her words, hell of a lot better. Right? So can you imagine that? Guys, that's a lot of power that you just got, right? Look at the potential you have to impact your dog, your senior fur kid, just by communication and talking and having fun, letting your dog explore the world under the guise of disaster preparedness. Right? And then lastly, this is my dog trainer coming out in me. Speak the action you want them to do, not the behavior you want corrected. It's back to positive. And I'll give you one easy example. How many people say, no barking, no barking, no barking? What's the dog see? Bark, 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 bark. If you say, be quiet, what's the dog see? Quiet. Speak the action you want, not the behavior you want corrected. Guys, I hope you had a blast. There's my contact information. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed it. I had fun. And you can contact me anytime for anything dog related. I'm out there. So that's all I know. Kelly?
That's all you know, Krista? I don't know, but it's just wonderful. What a refreshing, energizing, interesting perspective on disaster preparedness. I have to admit, I came in here thinking we were going to get the checklist. We were going to get, don't forget to pack this. And you started off by saying, that's not what this is about. You can Google that. Mr. Google has those checklists. So I thought that was really interesting. And what I am taking away from it, page of notes, but some of those key messages are that we can prevent a secondary disaster on top of a disaster by preparing our pets for those emergency, unusual, uncomfortable situations. And that way, when we are faced with a disaster of whatever magnitude, we're not adding to it, by having to also juggle the anxiety of our pets. And I love that because it also makes it a beautiful thing, as you said, the theme of fun. Invest that time, acclimate, go at their pace, and incorporate it in the daily life. And so thank you so much, Krista, for being here and so generously sharing your knowledge and expertise. And I dropped the websites, but also, as you just mentioned, you just invited folks to reach out via email. And thank you again for being here today and sharing. Really enjoyed it. The time went so fast, and we hope you'll come back again.
Definitely. It was a blast. It was fun.
Fantastic. So thank you. Awesome. Thank you all for joining us, and thanks for everyone watching on YouTube later. We appreciate your support of the Gray Muzzle organization. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.